Ever feel like you're in a rut with quilting, using the same few thread colors? I've been there too. Hi, I'm Angelique and welcome to Quilting with Color. I wanted to challenge myself and you to try more thread colors when I'm doing my quilting. We're going to talk about color theory and ways to find balance to make pleasing looking projects and add a little extra to what it is that we already do, making beautiful pieces. And remember to like and subscribe and click on that bell so you get those notifications. For the quilt top for piecing it together, I just grabbed some of my favorite tools from TrueCut. My handy dandy 45mm My Comfort Cutter, absolute go-to. For my long cuts of my yardage, this is my go-to ruler, the 6.5 by 24.5. For those smaller cuts, the 3 by 18. And because I did have some squares I needed to square up, the 9.5 and the 6.5 inch rulers. For piecing, I just use light wool to put everything together, but this is also going to feature in some of the quilting that we're going to do, as is our Snow White. I went ahead and got the big cones, and then these are colors of inspiration that I use to help me find the fabrics for my quilt. So let's get to it. To make it a little more challenging and keep me from gravitating to the same few colors, I will be randomly drawing 2 colors from our Finesse Classic line of 60 solids and 20 variegated threads. Oh, wow, water lily, pretty. Straw yellow, interesting. So the 2 colors that I randomly picked were water lily and straw yellow. So let's just kind of start by looking at these on our color wheel. And so my straw yellow is kind of getting into these yellow oranges, and I can really tell that if I lay out my thread so that it covers over that, and I'll put that a little closer. And my water lily here, and that's kind of falling into these violets, maybe even a little on that blue violet line. And these are split complementary colors. They're just slightly off of the straight, so a true complementary would be a cross. This is off to the side a little bit. So if I looked at the other side of the split complementary, that took me into the blues. And I'm like, I could definitely work with that. Now, as I started kind of looking a little bit closer at this, I popped these colors into my computer. And the first thing I came across was just taking a look at all of the color tones that were available in the water lilies. This one here is very, very close to the water lily. And so I've got some areas that I can kind of look at in this realm. Obviously, this falls into our purple category as we start looking at tertiary and secondary colors and whatnot. But to get a color like this, we play with the tint. And tint is changing the way a color looks by adding more white to it. So if you've played with paints or anything like that, if you took a purple and you added white, you would start to lighten up that shade until you got something that's very close to our water lily here. So then the next thing I looked at was kind of looking at the different sides of the split complementary. So what I showed here was showing it this way, but if I kind of turn it, then I would actually get a different split complementary into these like yellow-green areas as well. And so we can see that in our image here. So again, here is our water lily, here is our straw yellow, and we can start to see some of those greens popping out as well. So that started to give me a little bit of inspiration and some comfort in that maybe these colors would look really nice together. So we're really kind of playing in these lines between the secondary and tertiary colors. So I expanded this a little bit more so that I could start to think about what shades that I would like to use. And so here is our blues and our reds and so on. And then what I noticed was that these orangey yellows, these green yellows that were popping out, those blue violets and the violets were actually tetrad colors, meaning that they're every other one. So they have a space between them. So if you look here, our violets and green yellows are directly complementary. Our orange yellows with our blue violets are complementary, but they are one in between on the other side here. But I still hadn't quite come up with a project that I could use these colors on. And then the universe spoke to me, and I saw this beautiful lighthouse, the blue ocean in the background, these beautiful flowers in a very like lavendery water lily color, and I finally had my inspiration. I wanted to make something that was a little bit easier to piece together and a little bit more traditional in shape of a lighthouse. And this is what I came up with. This is designed to be sort of a night view. So we have our lighthouse in the middle here. This is our light from our lighthouse, which we will be using our straw yellow for. We have some darker blues here and of course some stars. I did some very simple stripes in various shapes to get an ocean behind that lighthouse, and then of course our grassy area. And then I just did a border that would kind of tie it all together, pulling a little bit more of this straw yellow. And I know what you're thinking already is, where is the water lily? And we're going to talk about that really soon.
Here is the quilt top all pieced together. I found some really great fabrics from our Grace Company fabric store that were just perfect, especially for the night sky and the wavy ocean. I did decide to stay with solids for the grassy area so that it wouldn't distract from my quilting feature. Hang on just a little bit longer to find out what it is.
To help me with the quilting on this project, I decided to grab our 9-piece hopping foot set because it's got some great feet that are going to really help me get this quilt together. And it has 3 different sizes of couching feet. I'll be using both the diagonal and square foot for some of the ruler work I'm going to be doing as well. For this project, I decided to use our Quilters Evolution hoop frame in rolling mode and our new 16X with the new fancy handles, just to make the quilting more comfortable for me. So I'm going to start by echoing around the outside of the stars. So I'm going to echo the shapes inside and outside to give the appearance that it's glowing in the night sky. And I'm using Finesse Classic in light wool. I'm going to add straw yellow to quilt the wavelengths of the light and extend it into the sky. I think I'll add it as reflections off the tops of the waves as well. I'm also going to add it inside of the windows to create some light, like it's shining from inside. I'm going to do some ruler work inside the lighthouse to make horizontal and vertical lines. I'll be using Snow White and Periwinkle to alternate the stripes. But first, I think I'll use obsidian to create a door and those windows that I just talked about. For the ocean and the sky, I'll be using finesse thread in the blues that will blend in well. For the sky, I chose Midnight Blue, and for the ocean, Winter Market. We're now ready to start on the real feature of this quilt, and the star of the show is our water lily. So we're going to be using some yarn with our water lily. This was the closest I could get, but it's very much in the tones, just probably has a little bit more white to it than this one, to start doing some quilting of some flowers and create more of a 3-dimensional effect so we can get some layering in this quilt. As I had mentioned, our 9-piece comes with 3 couching feet, and I do have a couple different thicknesses of yarn that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be using the large for this and the small for this. Now I know this looks a little thicker, but it's definitely going to compact when I go to quilt this down. So it's really important that I use the small one so I can get my stitches. So let me thread up and let's get to couching. Water lily will be used as a quilting feature of this project. I'll be doing some couching to bring the hillside out more and create some differences in depth by echoing and quilting with the finesse water lily thread. So when you're couching, you want to make sure that you've got plenty of slack in your yarn, and you want to go slowly to make sure that your thread is catching as you're doing your design. To go a little slower than you might normally do any kind of free motion quilting. I also plan to couch around the building portion of the lighthouse so that the quilted ocean will appear to sit more behind it. I'm going to use Finesse Classic Moonlight Glade and Quilt Pebbles, then add a little straw yellow for some of that reflection. And for the borders, I'm going to keep it simple, matching the colors with straw yellow and Snow White to really frame this project. I still have the borders to finish, but I wanted to go ahead and reveal what we've done with the main portion of the quilting with color. If you want to know how I made the quilt top, there is a free pattern in the comments below this video, so check that out. It's free. Next, we're going to go ahead and pull our next 2 colors for our next quilting with color, but just some quick reminders: like and subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you found this really fun and interesting. And if you're not sure about some of the free motion skills that we do have a series on free motion quilting where we did cover some of these particular designs that we did. All right, so here are the 2 that we just used. The rest of our colors for Finesse Classic are in here, and we're going to put them in our finesse hat, making sure we get them all. Give them a turn here, and then I'm going to draw 2 colors so I can start thinking about how to make these 2 colors work for the next quilting with color. All right, we have Deep Forest Green and Mixed Berry. These 2 should be fun.